And with every rainstorm, as I mentioned, the soils of Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Missouri are washing into the rivers of this continent, and they're carried downstream. We are plundering, so every rainstorm makes the rivers run brown with topsoil. And if you were standing at New Orleans, where the Mississippi River flows out into the Gulf of Mexico, you should know that prime American topsoil from the Midwest is flowing past you into the sea at the rate of a dump truck load a second. And this is irreplaceable soil. This is where we and our children are going to be growing our foods, and we are squandering it, pouring it into the ocean, literally. And because all this soil is loaded with ammonia fertilizers, as the nutrient-rich or the fertilizer-rich water in the rivers flows out into the Gulf of Mexico, it fosters a massive bloom of algae. They love all those phosphates and nitrates. But then the ocean turns green with algae blooms, and then those algae die. And as they die, they suck oxygen out of the water to the point where there is a hypoxic zone the size of the state of Maryland off the coast of Louisiana in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing lives there. And we've been absolutely brutal in what we've done with the land we found here 200 years ago. The majority of land where we are growing crops used to be forests. Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, these were thickly forested lands. It said before the white man cut down the trees, a squirrel in Maine could jump up in a tree and jump from tree to tree to tree to tree and not set foot on the ground till they came out in the grasslands of Iowa. That's how thick the tree cover was. But what did we do? We cut all these trees down, and we are proceeding to poison the land with our chemicals. And the creatures who used to live there are suffering an absolutely catastrophic decimation of their homes and their numbers. This brief video clip tells that story.
Sorry, Dr. Klaper, I need to interrupt you for a second. Can you pause the video?
Can you hear this?
Can you stop sharing and then share one more time and just hit the optimize for video clip and share audio?
Okay, sorry about that. So I have to stop share and then go back to screen share. That's what I was afraid of. Sorry about that. So I go back to screen share. And now I will click share sound and optimize video clip, share that again. And hopefully you'll be able to hear this time. Let me, okay, wrong, not that one, don't want that one. Oh boy. This here. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can also hit more than hide.
I'm sorry, say again?
Yeah, hide floating media controls.
All right, yeah, and I will hide the meeting controls here.
My name is Sailesh Rao, and I'm one of the original engineers of the internet.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Good.
In 2014, researchers at the World Wildlife Fund released a report saying that between 1970 and 2010, in just 40 years, the population of wild vertebrates decreased by 52%. Then 2 years later, they released the second report saying that between 1970 and 2012, the population of wild vertebrates decreased by 58%. So from these two data points, you can perform a simple math calculation to tell you that at the current rate of decline, 100% of wild vertebrates will be gone by 2026. This is year zero, the year when all wild animals are gone. It turns out that animal agriculture is not only the number one source of carbon emissions, it is also the number one source of land use on the planet. All over the world, humans are destroying original forests to make room for grazing animals or to grow crops for feeding animals. And then humans are using sophisticated geolocating technology to locate the last remaining schools of fish. And finally, we are pouring all these toxins into the environment, which is killing insects and which kills the birds which eat those insects. So we are attacking wild animals on land, in the ocean, and in the air. And this leaves wild animals no room to survive. We did some calculations. We took all the land that is currently being used for animal agriculture and restored the native forests that were there on that land in 1800. And it turns out not only that he could sequester more carbon than we have added to the atmosphere since 1750, but he also restored the natural habitat for wild animals to live. Is their world too? So this is entirely possible. We can bring back the forests and we can heal the climate. And in the process, ensure that year zero never becomes a reality.
So indeed, and that's going to be what the rest of this talk is about. It's so profound. Who knew? When I was growing up, I did not realize that the farm animals on my uncle's farm had displaced so many of the creatures that were there. Here we are, as where Dr. Rao is telling us we're going to be going in the year 2026, just 4 years from now. This is the mass, just the biomass of creatures on the planet and what we're doing with them. First of all, these are the human, just the population of humans, their sheer biomass compared to the wild animals on the planet. There's far more humans just by biomass than wild animals. And here are the animals we are growing in order to kill and eat. They far outweigh the wild animals. And here's all the food that we are growing on the land that used to be the animal's home. This is what we have done in order to satisfy our voracious appetite for animal flesh. This is what we've done to the natural world. And as he implied, every year, on land, we killed, now it's up to 80 billion cows, pigs, chickens, ducks, goats. We cut their throats every year and kill 80 billion land animals. In 2009, it's up to 80 now. And 1 to 3 trillion creatures from the sea. Now, every piece of wild-caught fish really has behind it dozens of animals that are caught in those nets, the whales and turtles and sharks and rays and dolphins. They're killed off as bykill, and they contribute to this 1 to 3 trillion sea animals every year. And if you haven't seen it, I urge you to see a film called Seaspiracy. They make it very clear what we are doing to the oceans, how badly we are plundering them. We've used fishing up. Let's start with this. No matter what role that fishing played throughout human history and how we thought it was our natural right to scoop out all the fish out of the ocean. Well, all populations of fish are now crashing. There's few of them left. And it's time to let the fish off the hook. It's time to let the oceans heal. We've used fishing up. We've used it up. It's gotten us this far. Now we owe the oceans time to restore themselves.